This is the second installment in the Introduction to Philosophy series. The first video we were talking about the branches of philosophy and the types of arguments. And this one will be focusing on the philosophy of language, specifically meaning and reference. So, what is meaning? Meaning could be a set of truth conditions, definitions, or concepts that are in the mind. The referent is the actual object out there in the world that a linguistic expression refers to. So if I say bear, this is a conceptual model in the mind, and the referent is the actual animal out in the world. So the question then becomes, what is the relationship between meaning and reference? Does meaning determine reference, or does reference determine meaning? Well, one theory holds, called the old theory, says that to know the meaning of a term is to know its analytical definition. An analytical definition specifies a set of necessary and sufficient conditions. So the necessary conditions are conditions that are required. The sufficient conditions are conditions that guarantee something is the case. Just a simple example, take for instance water. It's necessary to have one atom of oxygen and 2 atoms of hydrogen to form a specifically arranged molecule and be above freezing level to be liquid in order to be water. That being said, if there is water, it is sufficient to guarantee that oxygen and hydrogen are present. The second claim of the old theory is that meaning determines reference. That is, the referent is identified by the analytical definition. So, criticisms of this view. Well, first of all, it seems there are few, if any, analytical definitions apart from mathematics and science. For example, a bachelor is an adult male who is unmarried, but even a priest could fit that definition. Second criticism, if two people are thinking of the same thing, the meaning, they ought to be referring to the same object. An example, kind of a bizarre sci-fi example of this is, imagine there are twin Earths, 2 Earths that are exactly the same. And say somewhere in that universe with those 2 Earths being the same, my doppelganger and I point and say, look, there is my car. The problem is, I'm not pointing to my doppelganger's car, and neither is he to mine. Our meaning is pointing to 2 different referents. So that was the old theory. The new theory says, look, ostend first, just point, and then find boundaries later. And second, reference determines meaning. So start with what is in the world and then extrapolate meaning from it. This points out similar things, classifies them into groups, which is essentially what the... So let me give just kind of a weird example here. I am not from this earth, and I'm visiting for the first time, and I come across a strange object that is a seat that has 4 legs and a back meant for one person. I then call this a chair. and classify variations of such objects as chairs, but different subtypes. So, what are the problems with this one? It has problems, but it holds more water than the old theory. So the first problem is when no referent exists, but there's still meaning. So, for example, there was something called phlogiston, which was a hypothetical principle of fire regarded formerly as a material substance. Certain objects had a lot of it, which explains why they burned. Now, this, of course, does not exist, but still has meaning. And another criticism is when the referent changes. For example, if mainland Africa was referred to as Madagascar, but then Marco Polo comes along and refers to the island off of Africa as Madagascar, the referent has changed. So that is all I have for this video. If you thought this was helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe.